How's it going, everyone? In this video I'll be going over the crossbow lineups that we use in the DUSK 80% speedrun. First I'm going to show you my settings. Most of these are optional to your liking. The color settings here I think are useful for finding texture lineups. I like the dot crosshair because it's the smallest crosshair, it keeps it out of your way when you're finding those lineups, and I keep all the extra settings on off. Low spec mode is fine though if you want. Starting on E2M1, the only thing I really want to note here is that you can pick up extra riveter ammo over here in the secret area. That'll give you 20 crossbow bolts to work with in the episode. Otherwise, you only have 10, which is enough to do all of the tricks, but it definitely helps to have the extra ammo when you're starting out. The only note for E2M2 is that after you shoot this button here, it helps to switch to the crossbow before you end the level, so you already have it out in the next level. This level has two crossbow lineup options, but I'll show the easier one first. That I think is more consistent too. You back up into this corner on the right and you aim on the slash of this texture on the stairs. You can kind of aim anywhere on the bottom left of this slash. It's pretty forgiving, and you can go for it pretty quickly, honestly. What this does is it opens up a hole later in the level. We're about to fall down here. And what this lineup allows you to do is it enables kind of advanced movement, where if you're really precise, you can slide through this hallway here and just fall straight down into the hole. Otherwise, the other lineup involves you sitting on top of the door and shooting down. You want to aim between the two bolts here on the top left. It's a good backup to know just in case you miss the first one, but it's pretty hectic with all the enemies shooting at you, pushing you around. Now we're in E2M4. For this lineup, I go off of vibes. Really what you're trying to do is aim at the center of the lower rectangle. And what I do is I use this upper rectangle to kind of point towards the middle of the rectangle in terms of like width, and then in height I estimate it in the middle. If you prefer a more consistent lineup, what you can also do is drop down into the pit and then aim here on the wall, kind of between where the two metal bars hit the wall. In Escher Labs, there's also two options for a lineup at the beginning here. For the first one, this is what most people do. You kind of back up into this left corner, and you're looking to follow the top of the E to where it intersects that wall. So you draw a line from the E over to the wall and move just like a hair up. For the alternate lineup, you actually don't move at all from the spawn location, and if you look towards that really long straight line on the wall, if you aim right at the top of it or just a hair above it, the button is actually right there. So it's a pretty easy lineup, but you can only go for it once because once you shoot you move a bit and, messes up your positioning. This next lineup is at the end of E2M6. What you need to shoot is this button that's inside of the warehouse, which opens the door to the end of the level, but also reveals Big John. It's not too far to hit manually if you're out of crossbow ammo at this point, or saving it for Neobabel, but if you're next to the door, when you open it, you can slide past Big John pretty easily. So the lineup here is just looking at the square and shooting dead center in the middle of it. And make sure as soon as you shoot the crossbow to slide into the wall past Big John. I have a separate video on my channel that I'll link below, going into more detail on this Neobabel lineup. But what you're doing is shooting a button below that opens access to the key, and then doing this really long distance lineup to shoot a button all the way across the map that opens up a teleporter to the exit. This skips like 2/3 of the level, but the lineup is very precise, so it's worth taking your time to go for, setting it up slowly, and listening to the audio cue that pops up around here for when you hit it or not. Here I'm just showing the backup strategy in case you missed the long distance crossbow shot, the second shot. You shoot the buttons to drop down the pillar on the left, then you use 2 rivets to jump up the center pillar, or if you don't have any rivets left, you can also take the ladder, go around, shoot the button, and then go through the teleporter to the end of the level. Flashing lights warning for this level. You're not missing much if you skip it. E2M8. At the very end, it's kind of unlikely that you'll have any crossbow ammo left, but it's routed in that you have 1 bullet left by this point. If you do have that bullet, what you can do is shoot at this button through the very thin wall. What it does is drops the exit wall to your left. Here it is with brightness up. It's really hard to see, so it's kind of inconsistent, maybe a YOLO shot, but it drops the wall right to the exit, so you don't have to run forward, hit the button, and then shoot the second button. Throughout the dig, make sure you're staying at max crossbow ammo, grabbing that first crossbow at the beginning, the crossbow ammo after the red key, and then after you fly up, after most of the level, picking up right in front of the yellow door, more ammo. So this level has one small optimization that you can do with a crossbow lineup. It is at the very end of the level, you go through the teleporter and drop down the hole. What you can do is shoot this button through the wall. It's a very big button because it's close to you, and aim kind of anywhere in the bottom left side of that larger square. What it does is drop the gate and you can run straight to the exit. The Gauntlet is the last level of episode 2 and it goes very quickly. It is 4 lineups from this same spot. You want to make sure you're positioned in there and using your movement keys to hold you into that spot so you don't slip out. The first lineup is halfway between the 2 parallel lines in the corner. The second lineup is through the teleporter, kind of roughly in that area. It's a bit forgiving. The third lineup is looking for this square on the bottom right of this arch, and you look for the dark area on the bottom right of that square. Then for this last lineup, you end up around here, but what I look for is this circle texture that's on the bottom half of the wall. It's the only circle texture on this wall. Then you go up and left, you look for this line that drops down further than any other lines. Then you go very slightly down and left of the tip of that line, and that's the last shot. Fire and Ice is the first level in episode 3 where there's real crossbow lineups. And episode 3 tends to throw a lot more crossbow ammo your way, so you don't have to be as stingy and precise with your ammo usage. Make sure that you pick up the first 2 crossbow bolts at the beginning and that extra ammo there as well, so you're maxed out by the time you have to climb up here. There's 4 buttons you need to shoot in this section. The first button is right next to where you position yourself for the lineups, so you just kind of wing it shooting through the wall there. What's really important for these lineups is that you hit the right wall before the left wall as you settle into the corner. It gives you a really specific sub-pixel placement, and you need to be holding your position into that wall the whole time to make sure you don't slip out. For this first lineup, what you do is look for 2 stacked rectangular stones that are the same shape. You draw a line down from the dark spot on the top left corner of the upper brick, and then you align yourself with the bottom of the lower brick. For the next lineup, you look for the circle that has a kind of vertical line sticking up out of it, and you aim at the intersection of the 2. This is a good point to note that DUSK actually has a center view button that allows you to lock your aim at 0 degrees vertically, and you can use that bind for all 3 of these lineups. Here I slipped out of the corner when I shot because I wasn't holding into the corner. So again, I just readjust, make sure I get back in that corner the right way for the sub-pixel alignment. For this last lineup, you're looking for this white pixel on the wall, and you just aim half a pixel to the left of it. It doesn't look like it's going to hit with the X-ray, but the X-ray is jank, so it hits. I forgot to mention that for this level, in the previous clips I applied a post-processing like anti-aliasing thing to make it a little bit easier to see the textures. This is what it looks like, normal speed, without any of the anti-aliasing stuff. It's also worth noting that I only shoot 1 bolt at each of these lineups, but you have some wiggle room to shoot a few bolts, as long as you have enough for all of these lineups. And just make sure at the end of the level here you grab these crossbow bolt pickups before you exit the level. E3M3 City of Shadows has 2 lineups here that skip about half the level. You line up here in this corner against the door, you look for this red glow above the rightmost window, and you aim on the top right side of the glow. Then you want to do the second lineup. Treat the end of that pedestal like an arrow that's kind of pointing towards this dark patch on the wood, and follow it halfway down the wood. This second shot opens the door behind you, so you want to make sure to do it second, so you don't just like slip out after shooting. You want to get to the end of the level with as much time left on the climbing totem as possible, so it's really important about being fast here. You can do these flings with the climbing totem by holding climb and then holding spacebar and looking into the wall and then away from the wall in a kind of pattern where you shoot away really fast. It's a lot faster than swimming. If you have time left on the climbing totem, when you get here, what you do is you climb up the wall, holding climb and W in space, and you shoot up this well a lot faster than just swimming up it. If you don't have any time left on the totem, what you can do as a backup is get into this corner as high as you can and then do a crossbow jump up. I think you only need 1 or 2 to get into the water, and then you can just swim the rest of the way. It's easy to get disoriented at the beginning of E3M4 when you're trying to find the right angle for the lineup spot, but if you turn 240 degrees to the right or 120 to the left, you'll set yourself up for this. So what you do is you run in this corner, you jump up on top of this ledge, and you look for this red pixel, and you aim up and to the right of it. Now we jump ahead to the final level of the game, Dusk. This level has two halves, which is the Jacob fight and the Jarl fight. There's extra crossbow ammo there right next to the blue crystal if you feel like you need it. For a brief overview of this fight, the way it works is that Jacob has this green shield around him, which is supposed to block crossbow bolts, which interrupt his cutscene and start the final fight early. The coding is jank on this thing, so you can actually shoot through it, but it's still RNG if you just try and brute force shoot through it. What we do instead is this consistent setup that Vicious Gardell found, actually, where you run into this corner and you aim just above Jacob's right hand. Specifically, I put the bottom right corner of my dot crosshair on the top left edge of his hand, but it doesn't need to be that precise. The consistency of this setup is like a real lifesaver. And the other amazing part of this setup is that Jacob will consistently run to you in like a very straight line. So what that enables you to do is shoot rivets at him and do a ton of damage as he's running over. You can connect like 7 or 8 direct rivets, which take down 80% of his health. Then all you have to do is bring him to the center of the room and then finish him off so that he's in an optimal spot for the end cutscene. Here's a few examples though of just how much damage you can do.
Shit, you already know I'm obsessed with it. I can't get enough. Back with another milk. Help! Help! Help me! Help!
Here's a quick tip off rip for practicing cracks. If you mash save state at the beginning of this fight, you can create a save state that's like at the very beginning, and when you load into it, it doesn't shake the screen at all. So you can really just practice the lineup with Jarl in like a AFK, like idle animation state. I always do the cracks in the same order, starting with this first lineup looking at his mouth, kind of on the top right side of the mouth. Then you go straight right, mostly straight down and a little bit to the right. Then I jump across to the top left crack, kind of a vibe, but you can also use his thin arm there, as you saw, that kind of points towards the crack. And then the final crack is down and left of the fourth crack. Kind of like the same movement you did from the second to the third, but opposite for the fourth to the fifth. What I find most helpful for this fight is getting the muscle memory down of hitting each of them in sequence. You know, what it feels like to flick from one crack to the next. This is what feels most consistent for me, but you'll probably have to develop your own visual cues or definitely hone your muscle memory in shooting each of these cracks. As the ending plays out here, I just want to mention that this video only covered the crossbow lineups used in the 90% speedrun. There's a ton of other tricks that we use throughout the run. If you're new to learning the game, then you can learn a lot by watching top players' records, by watching older runs from top players. I would love to make a guide for the full speedrun of this game, but it's a pretty big task and I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. So if you need help for the time being, join the Discord. There's tons of people willing to help. We're a great community. And I hope you enjoy learning the game. Thank you for watching.